Fox Sports.
We are the Fourth. We are Florida.
Sunday afternoon, time for a little bit of this, a little bit of that, a little bit of baseball. Dominoes to baseball on a gorgeous Sunday in Miami. The Brewers and the Marlins getting ready to go. 2 one-run wins for the Brewers in this series so far. They've used the long ball to beat the Marlins. It's a 4-game series, so the Marlins still have a chance to split the series. Rich Waltz along with Tommy Hutton. But suddenly, Tommy, the Marlins are losing ball games that just 2-3 weeks ago they were winning.
Yeah, I made the comment last night during the game. The Marlins are in a stretch, the last 3 games in particular, where they get close and all of a sudden they're finding a way to lose the game as opposed to finding a way to win the game. Hopefully they can turn things around. They have a good pitcher on the mound for them today. With
all apologies to Aretha Franklin, the Marlins are not getting any RISP runners in scoring position. What's up with that?
It's one of those things that's psychological. Over the last 6 games, look at the average, 130 with runners in scoring position, way too many strikeouts. It's one of those situations you have to go up there with a mentality to get that run in, get the pitch you want, drive it, quit thinking about hitting a fly ball or doing this or doing that. You have to kind of clear your mind. A lot of times that comes with a veteran player, tougher to do with a young player.
Okay, if you're going to go psychological on me, it's got to be a psychological boost for the Marlins to have Anibal Sanchez on the mound.
Better than going psycho on you, Rich, I'll tell you that. Anibal Sanchez, May, 6 starts. He's been outstanding. In his last 5 starts, he's gone 7 innings or more. This is the guy you want to throw in a game where you've struggled winning games. In day games this year, Sanchez is 3-1 with a 2.50 ERA. Anibal Sanchez, well, you like to see him out there today.
So Sanchez going for the fish. The Milwaukee Brewers on a roll right now. They're going to go with a lefty. And a lefty that's been knocked around a little bit his last 2 times out, Chris Narveson.
A little different than the soft-tossing lefty. He can throw low 90s with his fastball. Has a big curveball. He'll use a changeup. He likes that pitch. 16-13 in his career. The Marlins have seen him before.
So tight ball games, but both ball games have gone to Milwaukee Brewers. Can the Marlins get over that hurdle? Can they get some hits with runners in scoring position? Does Ryan Braun really own 2 restaurants in Milwaukee? We'll find out the answers to all of those questions when we return.
Grew up in California, attended the University of Miami, now in his 5th season as a Milwaukee Brewer. In the offseason, signed a contract extension which runs through 2020. And I sat down during this series to talk to the former Hurricane, Ryan Braun.
Yeah, I like everything about Milwaukee. Fortunately, I don't have to spend the winters there. But aside from that, everything's been great. The fans have been incredibly supportive, not only of me, but of our entire team and our entire organization. It's incredible playing in front of 35,000 people every night. It's special. Our facility's amazing. Travel's great. And I really believe in the direction of the organization, and they believe in me. So it's been a tremendous relationship, and I'm excited about being a part of the Brewers organization probably for my whole career.
You've become quite the entrepreneur. You've dabbled in a T-shirt line. You've got, I think, a line of aluminum bats. You've built a couple restaurants in the Milwaukee area. I think one was closed for renovations, but you started another one. So why all the off-field entrepreneurship?
It's fun, man. I went to college on an academic scholarship, and I've always wanted to be able to apply my academics to my life, and I think, it was something that was always a priority for me. There's a lot of things that I strive to accomplish off the field, and I feel very fortunate that my baseball ability has enabled me to get involved in some pretty cool things.
How hands-on are you in those businesses?
During the off-season, I'm more hands-on than I am during the year, but, I would never lend my name or brand to anything without being directly involved. So I'm definitely pretty involved in everything.
Well, you mentioned you like the direction of this franchise. When you look at this lineup, you guys can hit. There's no question about that. Will the Brewers go as far as their pitching carries them this year?
I think so. This year, I think our pitching's been better than our offense has been. Our pitching's been great. We acquired Sean Markham and Zach Greinke in the offseason. We just got Zach back about a month ago. But our pitching's been phenomenal, and offensively, we're just trying to kind of piece it together right now. So I really believe we have a chance to have a special team this year, though. It's a good group of guys.
Ryan Braun committed to that long-term contract, and Jeff, you don't see that too often. Yes, he's being well compensated, but a lot of players look to play in bigger markets. He's happy in Milwaukee. I think that says something about him.
Boy, talk about a guy that you want as your cornerstone for your franchise for a long time to come. I mean, he does it all. He plays the game hard. He plays the game right. He's very well spoken, and I think he's well respected by everybody else in baseball.
And what a start he's had to a career. Rookie of the Year his first year, an All-Star the last 3 years, and headed to another All-Star berth this year. For the Marlins today, Anibal Sanchez on the mound trying to stop a season-long tying 3-game losing streak for the Florida Marlins. Rich Waltz and Tommy Hutton with all the action coming up next.
Ball brought to you today by Toyota. Moving forward, by AT&T, by Checkers Little Place Big Taste, and by All Year Cooling. Today's comfort, yesterday's prices. Ready to rock and roll? Sun Life Stadium, Brewers, Marlins. Two tight games to open up the four-game set, and both going the Brewers' way. Anibal Sanchez tries to put an end to that. Sanchez on the mound, making his 12th start of the season. Takes a little something off, and he gets a strike, and it's 0-2.
A good sign, too, Rich. A number of those 12 starts have been in the daytime, and Anibal 3-1 with a .250 ERA in day games this year.
Just about all of his numbers in any category outstanding this season. 0-2 to Weeks. Fastball, and Brett Hayes got a hold of it right in the webbing.
Last two
Weeks
pitches,
tipped it or not.
1-1 away. That one took off up and in. Terrific movement on those last two pitches.
Warren Henry Automobiles brings you the Brewers lineup, the Warren Henry advantage. You just saw Ricky Weeks, Niger Morgan, who homered last night against Chris Volstad. Ryan Braun, Prince Fielder, Corey Hart. That's a tough trio there. Jonathan Lucroy, Craig Counsell, Josh Wilson, Chris Narveson hits ninth. And here is Morgan, of course, villain to many Marlin fans for his run-in with the Fish. And the man working behind home plate, Brett Hayes, of course, knocked out of the season on that hit by Morgan. Morgan with a homer to right field. That was his first homer of the season. He's been terrific when healthy. He's been on the DL a couple times, but productive since he's been off the disabled list. Smacks that ball to right. Stanton in full flight. Mike reaches up and makes the catch on the warning track.
Not an easy day for defenders. Got to have the dark glasses, bright sky, a lot of sunshine. This is the Warren Henry defense for the Marlins with Morrison, Coghlan, Stanton. Dobbs in at third against the lefty. Infante Bonifacio up the middle. And as Rich mentioned, Brett Hayes behind the plate. The last time Brett caught Anibal Sanchez was on April 27th. It was that Dodger game here after his start in which he had the complete game. Remember, he was limited to the number of pitches. And that was the last time Hayes had Sanchez.
Here now is Ryan Braun. A couple of hits, a home run in the series. And, of course, his home run, a pinch hit two-run job in the ninth inning in Game 1, giving the Brewers a win. Braun, Prince Fielder. That one line into left field, a base hit. Braun and Fielder together, not only in the lineup, but also together in just about every significant offensive category in the National League. Braun singles to left. He is right now third in slugging percentage, fifth in on-base percentage. Braun also sixth in RBIs and tied for third with this guy and Mike Stanton with 13 homers behind Jay Bruce with 17, Matt Kemp with 15. Fielder goes after the first pitch. Dobbs in pursuit towards the wall, and it's out of reach.
And keep in mind, Prince Fielder just 26 years old. Braun just 27. And also keep your eye on Braun at first base. He has 13 stolen bases.
They're your home run leaders. Kemp with a couple of last night to put himself in a second place, sole possession of second.
Yeah, one of Kemp's last night was a grand slam, too.
So the Brewers have a hit, and Fielder goes after the changeup. That's a pitch that in the last few starts, Anibal Sanchez has used a lot more of.
Yeah, I know you and I talked about it in Arizona, Rich. The changeup for Anibal Sanchez, I thought, was the best he'd thrown. And a lot of that had to do with the aggressive swinging Diamondbacks.
Not too many more aggressive swingers than this guy. That looked like strike three. Sanchez started walking to the dugout. Jerry Meals is behind home plate. And that was
strike three.
Here's
See if he comes back with the changeup. Yeah.
And he got him. So Sanchez strikes out a pair, leaves Braun at first, and the Marlins get their first swings at Chris Narveson.
está disponible en español vía Zap y es presentado por KFC.
Scoreless ball game into the bottom of the first. Warren Henry Automobiles brings you the Marlins lineup. Chris Coughlin in center. Omar Infante back in the 2 spot. Logan Morrison, Gabby Sanchez, and Mike Stanton go 3-4-5. Greg Dobbs getting the start against the lefty. Emilio Bonifacio still at short. Hanley Ramirez still out. And Marlins with Brett Hayes in the 8 spot. Anibal Sanchez hits 9th against Chris Narveson. See the scouting report on Narveson?
Any pitch, anytime. That means the changeup, curveball, or fastball anytime. He's got to have command. And at times, and what I mean by he pitches backwards, sometimes when you expect fastball, you'll see changeup.
Coughlin, Infante, and Lomo. Narveson misses up, and it's 2-0. There are the season numbers for Narveson. We've pointed out his last 2 starts. He's given up 11 runs in those 2 starts. A little check swing, and Narveson gets a strike. It's 2-1.
He's had a couple of starts in his career against the Marlins, 0-2, and an ERA over 5 in 12 1/3 innings. He's given up 12 hits and 7 runs. But he has struck out 13 in that 12 1/3 innings.
Coughlin busts his bat on a fly ball to right. Hart makes the catch. Here come the Brewers defensively.
Check in on that Milwaukee defense, brought to you by Warren Henry, Braun Morgan, and Corey Hart. Craig Counsell gets the start. Josh Wilson, so a couple of former Marlins on the left side. Weeks in fielder, and Jonathan Lucroy behind the plate.
Here now is Omar Infante, a couple of hits in this series. Infante last night with Gallardo on the mound slid down to the 8th spot. He's back up hitting second against Narveson. And the most frustrating thing for the Marlins in the early innings last night against Giovanni Gallardo, as good as he was, the Marlins had great opportunities to score. They had just the 1 run in that first inning. And then you go back to Friday night against Randy Wolf. And yeah, the Marlins hit a couple homers, but they were solo shots by Gabby Sanchez and Mike Stanton. And they left a slew of base runners in scoring position early in that game.
Well, if you go back the 2 games, 3 for 22 with runners in scoring position.
Counts 2-1. Narveson is a 29. He does have some extended family in the Milwaukee area, but he went to high school in Asheville, North Carolina at T.C. Roberson High School, the same high school that produced former Marlin Cameron Maben. Into center field, and Infante smacks a single.
It's small, but it's a progress for Infante, a 3-game hitting streak now. And I think we've both seen over the last week or 10 days much better swings from Omar Infante.
Here is Logan Morrison. One of the things for the Marlins offensively, and you pointed it out last night, that without Hanley Ramirez, they really don't have a bona fide base-stealing threat. For all of his speed, Bonifacio has just a couple this year.
Well, and even just to put that into this game, if Hanley were playing in this game, he'd be hitting in the number 3 spot. So you'd have the right-handed bat of Hanley Ramirez against Narveson.
Coughlin, a little tapper. Narveson gets an out there. The relay's not in time. Josh Wilson on the pivot out there.
Yeah, Logan Morrison all of a sudden is in a little tailspin. Not bad, but he had that streak broken last night of reaching base. And Lomo right now 3 for his last 21.
Here comes Gabby Sanchez. Sanchez numbers healthy. 13 doubles to add to that, and a guy that's been living in the top 10 along with the Braun and Fielder in a lot of those categories.
Yeah, he's been residing in the same area as Ryan Braun, Prince Fielder.
Gabby is 6th in the National League in hitting at .321. And he picks up another hit.
Very interesting, by the way. I mean, I didn't notice it until the base hit because you've not seen a team do it all year. We saw the Brewers with Stanton up there have a shift on. They had Ricky Weeks, the second baseman, almost behind second with the runner at first. That opens up that whole right side. To me, Gabby is too good of a hitter hitting all over to leave that side open, and that's what he does. He takes advantage of it.
It's one of the things Ron Renicky has done this year coming in. He kind of proposed to Doug Melvin, their GM, that he'd like to employ that shift against right-handed pull hitters, much like teams do to a Ryan Howard. And here is Mike Stanton, a swing and a miss.
A similar shift, a little different with runners at first and second with Mike Stanton, who I feel is more of a pull hitter than Gabby Sanchez.
So Morrison's at second, Sanchez is at first, Stanton at the plate. Mike takes outside, and it's 1 strike. You can see the defensive alignment for the Brewers.
Without having to hold the runner, Prince Fielder well off that line at first base.
Stanton going after a changeup that was way out, and it's 1-2.
And again, this goes back to young hitter, runner in scoring position. Make the pitcher come to you. And he chased a bad changeup, a pitch that was out of the zone. Same pitch. Narveson tried to go back there.
So the count's 2-2. See how far Fielder is off the bag. Narveson ready. Down low, and so Stanton, after going after that pitch that was outside, has run the count full to 3-2, and you got Greg Dobbs on deck.
But another area with guys not in the lineup, this would be a situation you would look for, and we'll see what happens here with Stanton. Good patience. Good patience is what we talked about before the game that the young hitters have to have.
Do you get a sense that, I know there's runners at first and second, that Narveson pitched to Stanton cautiously because he had a lefty on deck?
Yeah, and I talked to Edwin about that before the game when I saw the lineup. And in Edwin's mind, there just aren't a whole lot of choices. Is it going to be Bonifacio? Do you put Brett Hayes behind Stanton? And the way he sets up the first part of the lineup, the front four, that's his choice. The last time Dobbs started against a lefty was in Arizona against Joe Saunders.
And he sees a breaking ball that misses outside. Splits this year against righties and against lefties.
Yeah, just 1 for 6, only 6 ABs against lefties.
He's been the Marlins' best with runners in scoring position. Dobbs, 389 with runners in scoring position. He's 2 for 6 in this series. Knocked in a run in game 1. That's Logan Morrison wandering from third. Gabby Sanchez looking for direction at second. And Mike Stanton taking his lead at first. Narveson's 1-1 pitch. And it's low and away, and the count is 2-1. You know, the veteran approach you talked about, letting the pitcher come to you, you can see that in a veteran like Dobbs.
And right now, and we showed you in the scouting report, Narveson has to have command. Right now, he doesn't have a lot of command.
Dobbs, a slow tapper past the mound. Weeks shovels and gets him by a step. Nice play by Ricky Weeks. The Marlins leave them loaded. We're scoreless. Scoreboard. Now you see him at home plate, and he hammers one down the left field line. That ball's going to fall fair. Hart turns and will arrive at second with a double, a leadoff double here in the second inning.
It's interesting, the 2 base hits that the Brewers have gotten today, the one by Braun, the one by Hart right there, you can tell by the sound they've really been hit off the end of the bat. They've not been hit right on the screws, but softly enough for Hart, he got himself a 2 base hit.
For Corey Hart, just his 7th double, but remember, he has been on the disabled list and has not played in a lot of games this year. This is just his 30th game of the season. Here is Lucroy, who had a great month of May but is struggling in June. And Sanchez gets a low strike, and it's 0-1.
Lucroy just 2 for his last 22.
He was the Brewers Player of the Month in May. And is a young catcher, a guy that they really like. He's just 24. Pulls one that brings Dobbs off the bag. Greg whips it across in time. And so there's an out, and here comes Craig Counsell. We saw the former Marlin last night in a pinch hitting role, and Counsell delivered a pinch hit. So he comes to the plate with Corey Hart still at second. They got Josh Wilson on deck.
You know, believe it or not, that pinch hit last night for Craig Counsell, his 37th as a Brewer, and he's the franchise leader in pinch hitting.
Some of that, I believe, has to do with the fact that the Brewers spent so many years in the American League, where pinch hitting is not a premium as it is in the National League. In terms of pinch hitting, the Brewers are lately getting a lot of them. They are 6 for the last 10 pinch hit at bats, including the Braun homer and the Counsell base hit. Gets into that one, may have hooked it, and it's foul, just foul. And a break for the Fish. The count is 0-2. Craig Counsell played his college ball at Notre Dame, got a degree in accounting, which is a good idea if you're going to spend 16 years in the big leagues, so you can keep track of your contract, keep track of the pension, all of those things. He's ready for that.
Well prepared.
Yep. Whitefish Bay, Wisconsin. His father actually worked in the Brewers front office when he was a kid. Put a good swing on that ball. Coghlan runs it down. Runner tags. Coughlin's throw coming in. And Hart, who runs well, arrives at third base. Not a bad throw by Coghlan, and it's good to see that 2 months into the season, the arm issues that he's had have kind of dissipated.
Yeah, I think to his credit, he's worked through them. He's certainly worked hard off the field to get that shoulder strong.
Josh Wilson now. Marlin fans will remember the name. Wilson has been in a few places since he was a Marlin. He was in Seattle. Marlins drafted him in '99. Brewers picked him up off waivers. He was briefly with Arizona this year as well. Always been a guy with a very good glove, versatile, can play all the infield spots.
Hey, he's kind of had a busy travel schedule early this year. He was in spring training with Seattle, and then they released him. Arizona picked him up. Claimed by the Brewers.
He's also spent time with the Washington Nationals, San Diego Padres. There's Hart at third base. Sanchez out in front of Wilson, 1 and 2.
There was a time when most of the shortstops in baseball were of the Wilson variety. You know, not heavy hitters, slick fielders, usually hit down in the order.
That changed in the late 80s and into the 90s. Outside corner. Sanchez finishes off Josh Wilson and leaves Corey Hart at third base. A scoreless ball game here in Miami in the sunshine. Anibal Sanchez dealing again. Going to the bottom of the second. Bottom of the second. All year cooling brings us the weather. 87 degrees, sunny and warm. And of course the Marlins and the Brewers aren't finished today. They have a game to play tomorrow night to finish off the 4-game series. Then the Atlanta Braves are in town for a 3-game set. Arizona comes in for a 4-game series, longest homestand of the season.
A lot of Brewers, players, broadcasters preparing for dinner somewhere over on South Beach tonight.
That's right. I heard the big plans. Everybody's headed to South Beach. Bonifacio takes a strike from Narveson. Emilio Bonifacio, Brett Hayes, and Anibal Sanchez for the Fish in the bottom of the second. Marlins had the bags loaded in the first. And with 2 outs, Greg Dobbs bounced out to Ricky Weeks. Bonifacio 1 for 7 in this series, and the 0-2's coming. Narveson is much like Anibal Sanchez in that he's had some surgeries. He had Tommy John in 2001, shoulder surgery in 06. Bounces that one up to Bonifacio.
Not too often. I mean, many times we get pitchers, 2 pitchers that have had Tommy John surgery. Today we have opposing pitchers, each have had shoulder surgery and Tommy John surgery.
Pitch is out, and it's 3-2. Narveson actually was a 2nd-round draft pick of the St. Louis Cardinals back in 2000. Good job by Bonifacio. Those are pitches, and we've talked about it, that the last couple of seasons, the 2-2 pitch especially, he would have gone after.
Yeah, good to see Bonifacio starting to go after, but able to take that pitch. But there again, that often is called a strike.
So here's Hayes now. You've got Anibal Sanchez on deck, so you're probably not thinking about a bunt here, but you got Hayes who makes contact, and you got Bonifacio who can run. So you do have an opportunity to stir something up. Hayes takes a strike.
Yeah, last year, Rich, just looking over 180 at bats, Bonifacio had 17 walks. That one right there was number 17 on the year. And he's got about 150 ABs this year.
And quite honestly, that's what's kept him in the lineup, is the fact that his on-base percentage has been around 350 most of the season.
Well, injuries have kept him in the lineup too.
Right, but if they've had, say the Marlins had those injuries and Bonifacio was the Bonifacio of last year, the Marlins may have looked at different options.
And I think given the fact that he's been able to play a little bit more also has helped his patience at the plate. He's seen more pitches. He's been in there a little more consistently.
How does he take that next step and become a base stealing threat?
Boy, he needs to have a long conversation with Davey Lopes somewhere along the line.
See, if Davey Lopes would open up the school of base running and base stealing in the offseason, I think he'd have some customers.
A lot of it is reading pitchers and getting jumps off pitchers. Not an easy guy. Narveson, you know what? He doesn't have a great move, but it's good enough. And many times off a left-hander, and even good base stealers will tell you this, off a left-hander, they just guess. And as soon as he lifts the leg, they go. But I think at the point of the lineup that we're in here, this isn't the time to guess. You don't want to get thrown out here.
Hayes with the count 1-2. Brett Hayes had a pinch hitting appearance in Game 1 of this series. And of course, he struck out with 2 outs and the bases loaded in the bottom of the 9th by John Axford. The Brewers closer has closed both games of this series. You know, the Brewers bullpen, many people in looking at the Brewers with the reinforced rotation of Markham and Greinke have pointed to the pen and said, well, that's an issue. But lately, the Brewers bullpen has been outstanding. And Axford has been good. He's picked up a couple of saves. Since early May, the bullpen's ERA is 1.76.
It's amazing how when a team gets on a roll, and we saw it in Arizona, David Hernandez, J.J. Putz, you get a couple of guys that are on fire at the back end of a bullpen, and that helps a lot.
Since May 9th, the Brewers have the best record in baseball at 18-6, and the Marlins have seen up close and personal exactly why. There goes Bonifacio, got a good jump, swing and a miss. Hayes is out, and Bonifacio steals the bag.
He does go on first movement. Brett Hayes just couldn't get a piece. Big slow curveball he got from Narveson, and stolen base number 3 for Bonifacio.
Now here's Sanchez. Sanchez fouls it back to the screen. Count 0-1. Sanchez in 11 games this year.
Tell you what, Sanchez helped himself his last start. Remember, he had a base hit, and then 2 times with a runner at third and less than 2 out, he put the ball in play. Little ground balls that got the run in. They had 2 RBIs.
Three hits and 22 at bats. Big curveball for a strike. Oh, 0-2. Marlins have yet another runner in scoring position. I like that. You can cut it down that way. Last 4 games, hey, he's hitting 300. Sanchez swings and misses on his way down to first, and Lucroy throws him out. So Bonifacio still at second, and now it's up to Coughlin to keep this inning going. Narveson, first time through the order, 2 walks and 2 strikeouts.
Yeah, for a guy who's not overpowering, Narveson came into the game 59 2/3 innings, 56 strikeouts, almost a strikeout an inning. A lot of that he gets with that big curveball. As you saw him get Sanchez there.
You know, the Marlins are having trouble getting runners in at the same time that the Phillies are having trouble scoring runs.
Phillies have lost 4 straight.
Yeah, now 34-24 are the Phillies. The Marlins are still 2 out, 31-25. Braves are 2.5 back. The Mets, who shut out the Braves last night, are 7 back. Coghlan takes a rip at a fastball, and it's 0-2.
How about the Mets getting 7 shutout innings from Dylan G? He's 6-0.
Coghlan taps it out to second. Weeks flips on to first, and Narveson leaves another in scoring position. Still scoreless. Copyright telecast presented by the authority of the Florida Marlins may not be reproduced or retransmitted in any form. Accounts and descriptions of this game may not be disseminated without the express written consent of the Marlins. Anibal Sanchez pitching to Chris Narveson. Will be followed by the top of the order, Ricky Weeks and Nyjer Morgan. And a fastball that is fouled off. Counts 1-1. Sanchez has 3 strikeouts. Hasn't walked a hitter. He's given up 2 hits, a Braun single and a Corey Hart double. Narveson with a healthy cut.
He's good to hitter. He swings the bat well, and maybe not quite as good as Gallardo, but Narveson not an easy out up there.
Brewers have been playing long ball. Marlins have seen it in this series. 65 homers. Over the middle, Bonifacio can't get it. And Narveson's got a base hit. So an infield single by the pitcher, and here comes Weeks. Now Weeks has 10 homers. The Brewers as a team have hit 65. That is second in the National League to Arizona.
Do or die right there. Bonifacio has to pick and throw. He maybe had a chance because it was Narveson running, but Narveson gets the base hit.
Yeah, they're just one behind Arizona, who's hit 66. Weeks went around. That's Dale Scott over there.
Knock it off, Ron. Knock it off.
Your home plate umpire, Jerry Meals. Knock it off, Ron. Yelling at Renicky. amazing how umpires can recognize managers' voices.
Well, that's important too, because umpires will let the manager talk and let the manager get on them. But if they hear a voice that's not a manager's that is on them, then that's trouble.
It's a little different story.
Yes.
Manager has a little more leeway.
Absolutely. Narvison's at first. Sanchez out in front of Weeks, 0-2.
I tell you, a real interested observer in this start today for Anibal Sanchez is his former pitching coach when he was a rookie in his rookie year in 06. Over in that Milwaukee Brewers dugout, Rick Kranitz.
Weeks lowers the barrel. And the boom, and it's gone. A line drive homer that just got out. And the Milwaukee Brewers homer again. 66 on the season for the Brewers. And that's their 5th home run in this series.
Boy, Ricky Weeks did that with ease, and that gives you an idea of the strength he has. He just lowered the boom on a pitch that was down. Supposed to be in, but it was out over the plate. And there's that power generated. A quick, short swing by Ricky Weeks.
And that is career home run number 100 for Weeks. So a milestone for the youngster out of the Orlando area. Morgan flips one to left. Morrison goes back, and it's over his head. Has to play it off the wall, and Niger Morgan has himself a double.
Ball is carrying. We saw Weeks' home run carry, and that ball carried over the head of Logan Morrison, who I think had a chance to make the play. I think he was fooled on the ball that carried so well.
Here is Ryan Braun now. And Morgan's at second. So Sanchez has got to pitch to some tough hitters with a runner in scoring position. Here's a look at Morrison's initial move on that ball.
And this will tell all. A step in. Once he took that step in, he got fooled, and the ball carried over his head.
That's got to be a tough thing for a guy like Morrison or a guy like Coghlan, who grew up playing in the infield where you're taught ball off the bat, you're essentially moving forward.
In the infield, you can hear it better, so you can hear if a ball's hit good or not. It's a little tougher in the outfield.
Oh, 0-2. So the Brewers got an infield single out of Narvison, a 2-run homer from Weeks, Morgan a double, and Sanchez 0-2 against Braun. Braun single back in the first. Then you got Prince Fielder and Corey Hart to deal with. So this is a tough spot for Sanchez if he's going to keep it at 2-0.
Coming into this game, over his last 5 starts, Sanchez had allowed just 2 home runs, and they were in his last start against Arizona. But he's been durable. Last 5 starts, he's gone 7 innings or more. So he's given Edwin and the ball club quality innings as well.
And he's close to averaging 7 innings a start. 74 innings of work in 11 starts coming in. Of course, a couple complete games.
You can tell he's thinking strikeout. He wants to get Braun and get him with a strikeout.
Is that whistling coming from someone in particular? You hear that? Into right field. Stanton lines it up. Morgan's going to tag, and he's not going to test the arm of Stanton.
Not quite deep enough.
Marlin fans, present your Miccosukee Ultimate Rewards Players Club card at the stadium box office starting 2 hours prior to any Marlins home game. Get a $10 discount on up to 8 infield box seats. Offer cannot be combined and is subject to availability. Miccosukee Resort and Gaming. Get in the game.
Rich and I are up here trying to figure out where that whistle is coming from. Could be coming from the dugout. Could be Perry Hill with some defensive moves. It could be Niger Morgan, the runner at second base. Sees the catcher set up inside, no whistle. Set up outside, whistle. A lot of things guys will do when they get to second base.
There's a strike to Prince Fielder. Fielder a strikeout back in the first.
You certainly can make pitches to Prince Fielder. First base is open, and Hart and Lucroy right-handers to follow.
The market for Prince Fielder and for Albert Pujols will be an interesting one.
Fielder is younger. Obviously left-handed bat, so it depends on what club. I don't know if it makes a difference when you're talking Fielder and Pujols, though.
I think one of the dynamics is the fact that a couple of the big market teams are in financial straits right now, in the Mets and the Dodgers. Two teams that you would think would be bidding for him, and down goes Fielder.
Nice changeup. Second time he struck him out on that changeup today.
Could not check his swing.
Boy, it has good movement. It goes away. Fielder commits. And that's the same thing he did in the first inning. Struck him out on the changeup.
Here's Corey Hart now. He doubled back in the second.
Yeah, and the Yankees don't need a first baseman.
No.
With Teixeira.
The Phillies don't either with Ryan Howard. Breaking ball misses in. So you probably eliminate the Dodgers and the Mets from that bidding. Some have speculated that the Cubs may take a run at Pujols. The Red Sox certainly don't need a first baseman. They've got a nice one, Adrian Gonzalez.
Yeah, not with the way he's hitting.
And you would expect that contract will be the one that the agents for Pujols and for Fielder will hold up and say, look, our guy is as good as that guy. Yikes. Somebody got crossed up.
Yeah, you saw how Hayes shifted outside, and all of a sudden that ball wasn't what he thought it was going to be. Yeah, it really limits the teams when you start talking about who could be interested and make the kind of offer that these guys are going to demand. That wasn't a bad pitch there.
That's 3-0.
Maybe up a little bit.
and he misses on the next pitch, and Corey Hart walks.
What's happened, though, in this inning, Sanchez has had to throw a lot of pitches.
Lucroy now 0 for 1. 2-run homer by Ricky Weeks here in the third. Nyjer Morgan's at second. Got a big lead, too. Hart's at first.
Yeah, 27 pitches now for Anibal in this inning.
Ball and a strike. Nice and tidy first and second.
Well, the good news, and you can see upset with himself, is Sanchez. Good news, the Marlins have won, and a lot of it's due to the way he's pitched. They have won the last 5 of Anibal Sanchez's starts.
Two-one coming. And the count evens at 2-2. In those 5 starts, Sanchez 4-0 and had given up just the 5 earned runs. He's given up 2 runs here in this third inning. Breaking ball, soft liner, and Bonifacio has it go off of his glove. Morgan is going to score. It's going to be a base hit and an RBI. Now, last night we saw Bonifacio diving to his right on a line drive, and it popped out of his glove. Certainly not an easy play. Let's take another look at it.
But I think he was there. The same thing that happened. The other one was to his right, this one to his left, and he overdives. He gets the ball back on the end of the glove. So 2 times, not easy plays at all, but 2 times he's had catchable line drives, and he hasn't made the play, and they've been costly.
Yeah, last night it was Lucroy who hit the ball as well. It was to his right, and then Betancourt followed with the RBI double that was the difference in a 3-2 game. So Sanchez trying to pull himself together. Now he gets Counsell. Counsell had some good swings against him. Remember, he just missed a double down the right field line and then hit a deep drive to left center field. Popped him up. Dobbs makes the catch, but the Brewers are on the board and they get there 3 times. Florida. Brought to you by Subway. Eat fresh. Brewers on top right now by a score of 3-0. Let's check in with Frank Fort.
Rich, thanks very much. Coming up tomorrow, the Marlins are going to have some decisions to make because they're leaning toward calling up a pitcher from the minor leagues to make the start on Tuesday. That would necessitate a roster move. And manager Edwin Rodriguez, talking to the media before today's ball game, said he's of the opinion that Hanley Ramirez should go on the disabled list. Hanley had an MRI on Friday. They did find some inflammation, but Edwin said, look, this is no longer a day-to-day thing. He's been out for a while, and it's leaving us shorthanded with the need for a pitcher on Tuesday. He believes Hanley should go on the DL. However, the Marlins do things collectively. Edwin said they'll probably sit down either after the game today or tomorrow with Larry Beinfest and Mike Hill and make a decision on what they're going to do with Hanley Ramirez, whether to DL him or not. Guys?
As well, there's the second part of that equation, Frank and Tommy, and that's about who comes up and makes the start on Tuesday.
Seems to be a few choices are out there.
Yeah, the names that two guys we saw in spring training that pitched well in spring, Eli Villanueva and Tom Kohler. They're both in New Orleans. Infante, a soft fly to left, and Braun runs it down. And Infante is out number one. Chris Sampson, who has some big league experience, who has just started pitching in New Orleans. He's 2-0 with a 3.50 ERA. And in Double-A, a left-hander named Brad Hand, who is 7-1 with a 3.53 earned run average. That's in Double-A Jacksonville. Villanueva is 4-5 with a 5.70. Kohler is 5-1 with a 4.24. But you often look at how guys have thrown in their last 3-4 starts rather than their overall body of work.
The total numbers, yeah. And one more thought on Hanley. The last time Hanley played was in L.A. on the 29th of May. Remember, he came out of the game after his first AB.
Here's the 1-0 pitch. Morrison hits a ground ball out to second. Weeks gathers it in, throws him out. Let's go back down to Frank Fort. Frank?
Yeah, just to add to what the discussion there, Rich, actually Villanueva pitched either last night or the night before, so it'd be tough for him. Brad Hand is scheduled to start for Jacksonville on Tuesday night, so that's a possibility. But then you got to look at the 40-man roster, too. That would necessitate another move. So there are some possibilities out there. Sampson pitched a couple of days ago, 3 days ago, I believe, so he would certainly have plenty of rest in time for Tuesday. But I think Villanueva would be out of the equation right about now just because of when he last pitched.
Edwin did say whoever comes up, he wants them here in the dugout tomorrow night because he'd like them in the dugout for a game just to get acclimated rather than to fly him in on Tuesday. Here's your uni and go get him.
Thought. I like that. That's a good idea, just to get acclimated and ready to go. Yeah, and just thinking about this game here, a 3-0 lead when you're struggling the way the Marlins are and getting hits with runners in scoring position. When you're down 3-0, you'd almost feel like you're down 8 or 9-0.
Well, and Narvason, who's given up 11 runs in his last 2 starts, now has a 3-0 lead. The Marlins had the bases loaded in the first with 2 outs and didn't score. They had a runner at second base with 1 out and didn't score in the second.
Now they have the shift on, but it's a little different. Weeks isn't as far over, and with nobody on first base, Fielder is well off the line. Remember last time Gabby was up, Fielder was holding the runner, and there was a big hole on that right side.
Gabby drives that to center field. Morgan back there, and he makes the catch. So a 1-2-3 inning, albeit with a loud third out. Brewers on top, 3-0. They got their 3 against Anibal Sanchez in the 3rd inning. And here in the 4th, Josh Wilson leads it off. Wilson, who was up with the Marlins briefly. And remember that there was a time where Miguel Cabrera and a lot of the Marlin players were wearing Duquesne baseball T-shirts.
I remember that. Everybody in the clubhouse.
Yeah, everyone had Duquesne baseball shirts, and everyone was going, why? What's the attachment to that small school in Pittsburgh? Well, Josh's father is the head baseball coach there, and he brought a box full of Duquesne shirts with him to the clubhouse, and guys liked them and wore them. And he singles here to open up the 4th.
Haven't seen too many mistakes from Anibal. He's not as sharp as we've seen. That breaking ball kind of hung up and out over the plate for Wilson.
Well, Narveson had the infield single back in the 3rd, but in all likelihood is going to try to drop down a bunt. Quick throw over, and that almost picked Gabby Sanchez off. A wild throw by Anibal Sanchez. There's the bunt. Sanchez picks it up, and he flips on over to first in time. Narveson's out. Wilson's in scoring position. You're back to that dangerous top of the order for the Brewers. Let's flip the phone on this Sunday afternoon for the 2 Brewers to win Cy Young Awards.
One pops to mind real quickly. He had a great looking mustache.
And is a Hall of Famer. Was the closer for 3 world champions. Also got to the World Series, I believe, with the Padres. Did he get to the World Series with the Brewers too? Was he on that team in '82? Was his mustache better than Clay Zavada?
Oh, yeah. It's the mustache that Clay Zavada models his after.
It's the gold standard. Ricky Weeks has struck out. And Weeks took a low inside fastball and lined it over the wall and left for a 2-run homer. That one landed over the Ford Fiesta out there in left field. Wilson. Sanchez, the 1-1. Ground ball into right field, base hit. Wilson will be sent. Up with the ball is Stanton, runner coming home. He airmails the throw all the way to the screen. And Weeks ends up at second. And the Marlins not helping themselves out defensively at all.
Right now, other parts of the Marlins game are going downhill. It's one thing to struggle with runners in scoring position, leaving men on base, but you have to continue to do those small things. Good hitting by Weeks, not a bad pitch. But I think Mike has to do 2 things. First of all, I don't think he's going to throw out Josh Wilson. But even if you make that throw, you got to keep it low to give Gabby Sanchez a chance to cut it off and get Weeks at second base and not allow him to cruise into second base.
Well, Weeks is at second base. He's in scoring position. Nyjer Morgan, Ryan Braun in the order. And Morgan hit by the pitch. And he's on his way to first.
The last time Anibal Sanchez gave up more hits than he's given up today. He's given up 8 today.
Here comes Edwin, and I think he's going to have a discussion with Jerry Meals. Brett Hayes is having that discussion that Morgan leaned into it. And he kind of leaned away.
That wasn't as blatant as Miguel Montero. You know, it's easy not to lean away when you have that elbow pad. But I think Montero's in Arizona was much more blatant as far as leaning in.
That ball actually unhooked the elbow pad. Did you see that? Can we see that same replay again? Watch the elbow pad. See, it's Velcroed. Now watch the pitch. Zip.
Yeah, he catches it. So that's certainly what the umpire heard.
It's not very often you actually have visual proof that a pitch like that hits a guy, but I guess there's the proof. And this is not a sight that we've seen in a long time, Tommy, and that's a relief pitcher up in the 4th inning in an Anibal Sanchez start.
Yeah, I was going back to the last time he gave up more hits was his 2nd start of the year in Houston in 4 2/3. Sanchez gave up 13 hits. Since that time, the most hits he's allowed in any game has been 6.
You've got terrific speed out there with Weeks at second and Morgan at first. And here is Braun. Singled in the first, flied to right in the third. Very good interview with Braun and Frank Fort on Marlins Live. Braun talking about all the things that he's done off the field. Clothing line, restaurants, a sports drink. Center field, well struck. Coughlin goes back. Chris is there, makes the catch. Weeks retreats and tags, and the throw goes into second. Weeks arrives at third. Morgan is back at first. And Braun pointing out to Frank Fort that he went to college not on an athletic scholarship, but on an academic scholarship. And he figured, you know what? He wanted to use that as well as his baseball skills in real life.
Yeah, in the big picture, he's combining both. He's combining his academics, his knowledge, with the benefits he's gotten as a player, and they've certainly been large with his contract that takes him forever. He'll forever be a Milwaukee Brewer.
He doesn't have to raise too much capital either whenever he has an idea for a restaurant or
he knows where to go.
A business venture. He hit that ball a long way, and Fielder has struck out twice against Sanchez, who just checking on Nyjer Morgan. Morgan increases his lead, not running, and the 0-1 is outside. And as you alluded to, if a 3-0 lead feels like a 6-run lead, a 4-0 lead or beyond, if the Brewers can add on here, would seem enormous the way the Marlins are struggling offensively.
Yeah, you know, it's one of those feelings that you don't want to get, but you get it, you feel it.
A balk is called. Sanchez balks in a run, and it's 5-0. I think you had every umpire down there at the same time called it.
Which is rare, so you know it was very obvious. Watch. Everything kind of broke down before he stepped off. And usually maybe one umpire will pick it up, but when all of them call balk, you know it's pretty obvious.
So this has been a messy 4th inning aside from the hits, with Weeks taking second on the overthrow, the error by Stanton. Actually, Stanton was not given an error, but maybe there should be a category for a throw like that.
I've always thought so.
1-2 in the dirt, and Morgan's going to take third on a wild pitch.
That's really kind of messy now for Anibal Sanchez. Yeah, I've always thought if a throw is so poor and is so bad over a cutoff man that the runner easily advances, I mean, that's why he advances, because it was a bad throw. If you make a bad throw to first and the runner goes to second and you're a shortstop, you get an error.
Two and two.
I think this would be the kind of game, because in his last 2 games, he's gone 8 innings last time out, 9 innings the time before. Regardless of if he hits.
A nice play by Infante, and that saves a run. And I know where you're going.
You might just want to get Sanchez out of the game now anyway.
5-0 Brewers. Two more in the fourth. They built a 5-0 lead for Chris Narveson. AT Trivia, Cy Young Award winners, 2 from the Brewers. Raleigh Fingers, the guy that Tommy was talking about. Pete Vukovich in 1982.
Pete Vukovich in 82 was 18-6, had 9 complete games. To give you an idea of how Raleigh Fingers was used compared to closers of today, 81, remember, was the strike shortened season, so not as many games. He had 28 saves. He was 6-3. He appeared in 47 games, but threw 78 innings.
Wow. Stanton on a 2-0 pitch fouls it back into the seats. Got Mike Stanton, Greg Dobbs, Emilio Bonifacio against Narveson, who is settled in and retired 6 in a row. Two and two. Boy, Stanton had a swing at a ball that bounced well in front of the plate.
Right there is a 21-year-old at bat.
Let's brighten everyone's day with the Tickets of America poll question. What do you think of when you hear Milwaukee? Beer, the Brewers, cheese, German food, or someplace north of Chicago? Come on.
I mean, do you throw brats? Do you throw brats into German food?
789-789. So brats and sausage go into the German food category. Here's the 1-0.
Thing about Greg Dobbs playing and really starting, I think, his second start against the lefty. Everybody thinks, well, he's been swinging the bat well. He's going to settle right in and get some hits. You got to remember the last few years, He hadn't seen many lefties. You know, he's been a pinch hitter last few years with the Phillies.
And certainly you don't get many pinch hitting appearances against lefties.
And if he did start in a game for the Phillies, it was against a righty. So I think he's worked things out so well with his swing, he's going to put it together, but it's going to take a while. He's just not going to start banging out hits against lefties like he has been against righties.
Two big curveballs, and Arvidsson trying to catch that inside corner. Now he's missed with them, and the count's 3-2. Let's see if he'll triple up on that. No, fastball. Dobbs busts his bat. Weeks crosses in front of Wilson and makes the catch.
The Marlins really haven't hit many balls hard. Infante's hit a couple of balls hard. Gabby's single was hit pretty well.
Bonifacio now walked and stole a base back in the second. Arvidsson misses down low. Day baseball in the National League on this Sunday. Got the Dodgers on top of the Reds early, 7-3 in the bottom of the third. Matt Kemp is homered again. Chad Billingsley is homered. And Drew Stubbs homering for Cincinnati. 7-3 Dodgers, bottom of the third. Pittsburgh leads the Phillies. Phillies having trouble scoring. 2-0 in the fourth. Bonifacio to center. Morgan is there. The Marlins are down in order, and Narveson right now is shutting out the fish. Sanchez still in there, and he fires in a strike to Corey Hart. Sanchez at 73 pitches.
Probably his last inning, Rich. He's due up next inning.
Goes after Hart with another fastball, and it's out of play. Corey Hart has doubled and walked. Brewers got 3 in the third inning, added 2 in the fourth. Ricky Weeks' 2-run homer got on the board to start with. 5 home runs already for the Brewers in this series. And now tied with Arizona for the National League lead at 66. And Tommy, they are 18-6 in their last 24 ball games. In those games, 33 homers by 12 different players.
Wow.
Hart to right field, and Stanton is there.
You're talking about Arizona, who will be in town next weekend after the Braves. Arizona, the last 2 games, has shut out the Washington Nationals. Joe Saunders, 7 shutout innings last night and a 2-0 win. Guy we didn't see in Arizona, Josh Colmenter.
He's got the funky delivery of
Yeah.
right, not over the top, but over the top, almost over his head. Here's Jonathan Lucroy, who was bounced out in an infield single, and I suspect we'll get to see him here on this homestand.
Well, let's see. He went last night, which was Friday or Saturday. No, he went Friday.
That one fouled out of play.
We could see him the last game of that series. Notice I'm using my fingers and not my calculator.
Sort of like a human abacus. 1-2. Got him with a fastball. So Sanchez has the first 2 outs of this 5th inning. Craig Counsell comes up. You can log on to JiffyLubeCatch.com. It's your chance to enter the Play Catch with Gabby Sanchez sweepstakes. 2 lucky winners will be selected to play catch on the field with Gabby prior to the June 21st game against the Angels. Just log on to JiffyLubeCatch.com today. Jiffy Lube, the official oil change of the Marlins. Infante and Counsell is the 3rd out. That's a quick inning by Sanchez. 1-2-3 in a Subway 5th inning. Brewers are hot right now, and they are showing it. They've won the first 2 of this 3-game set, and they're up 5-0 here in Game 3. Subway 5th inning continues. Brett Hayes, the pitcher's spot, and then Chris Coughlin against Chris Narveson. The Marlins had the bags loaded with 2 outs in the first, didn't score. A runner at second with 1 out in the 2nd inning, it didn't score. Since that 2nd inning, though, Narveson has set down 9 in a row, and Hayes takes up 2-0.
And Rich, it's one of those things you never know because it's such an intangible. Had the Marlins scored in that 1st inning, it maybe picked up a run in the 2nd inning, you have a whole different feel of the game, and you don't know if the Brewers go on and score 5 runs.
Right now the Brewers are doing all the hitting. They've got 8 hits, 5 runs against Anibal Sanchez, one of the hotter pitchers in the National League. Narveson bounces that one up there, and it is 3-1. I told you that Narveson is from Asheville, North Carolina. That's where he went to high school. Same high school as Cameron Maben. And Hayes takes inside. That high school also produced Roy Williams, North Carolina basketball coach, and Justin Jackson, a highly touted shortstop with the Blue Jays. Fox Tracks will show you that this just missed. Frank Fort is hopefully in the shade somewhere. Frank?
Well, not right at the moment, Rich. We're down by first base. Leadoff walk here to Brett Hayes. Last night, the Marlins got leadoff runners on in 6 innings out of the 9. However, as many things as they've done well this season, that's not an area they've done well. When they've gotten the leadoff runner on this year, they have scored him only 41.8% of the time. The league average, as Ozzie Martinez pops one out of play, is 44.9%. The leading clubs, Toronto and Boston, and the Brewers are in the top third of the league in getting leadoff runners home at 48.2%. So last night, 6 of the 9 leadoff runners on. Marlins got him home only twice. As Edwin Rodriguez looks to get more runs, that's an area the Marlins certainly could improve in. Rich and Tommy?
Oh, goodness. Lucroy gets hammered on the backswing by Ozzie Martinez. Let's hope that Jonathan Lucroy is okay. Martinez with his arm around him.
Yeah, you see that happen often, especially with hitters who will take that swing and release that top hand and have the big follow through. We've seen John Buck take a couple like that. There's the release of the hand, the big follow through that catches the side of Lucroy.
Of course, John Baker was hit by Albert Pujols. I don't know if it was last year or the year before, and was cut on the side of his head.
You know, speaking of Albert Pujols, we were talking about Pujols, his pending free agency, Prince Fielder. Pujols looks like he's starting to heat up. He was 3 for 4 with a couple of home runs against the Cubs in their game yesterday. So he's up to 275 with 12 home runs.
It's good for the Cardinals because Matt Holliday just went on the disabled list.
You know, you give the Cardinals credit. Everybody has injuries. Certainly the Marlins have had their share. But if you look at the Cardinals, spring training, they found out Adam Wainwright, their big stud right-hander, was going to miss the entire year with Tommy John surgery. Chris Carpenter's only won 1 game. Their bullpen, especially the backhand, has been in shambles. They've used 5 or 6 guys to close games. Holiday's been on the DL twice, and Pujols is just starting to heat up, and they're in first place.
And Lucroy is going to stay in the ball game. That's good news for the Brewers. Yeah, the Brewers a sexy pick in the offseason and the preseason magazines and projections that everybody has made, and I think that still holds up. I mean, if the Brewers continue to swing the bat the way they are, ground ball, that might be 2 Weeks to the bag. There's 1 and a double play. It's a nifty turn from Weeks to Wilson to Fielder. So Coughlin comes up, and the Marlins still don't have a hit against Narveson since the first inning. Coughlin drops down a bunt, and it rolls foul, just foul.
Any way you can. That's what Chris Coughlin is thinking. Cog just swung the bat a little bit better over the last 3 games. A little 3-game hitting streak. Coming into today, he was 6 for his last 14.
So the count 0-1. Narveson's out in front 0-2. Coughlin's flied out, bounced out. Narveson bounces that one in the dirt. So that high school that's produced Maben, Roy Williams. Of course, Asheville has that minor league team famous for their bat boys, the Asheville Tourists. Maben was one. Thomas Wolfe, the author, was one. Roy Williams, the Ripkins, Billy and Cal. Of course, Cal Sr. managed in Asheville. It is a beautiful place if you've ever had a chance to go to Asheville, North Carolina.
They have some pretty good basketball in that area, too.
It's down low. 2-2. The Phillies have actually scored a run. It's 2-1 Pittsburgh now in the bottom of the fourth. Marlins trying to accomplish that here. Coghlan pulls it down the line. It's a fair ball. Fielder's going to flip. Coughlin's dive, and he is out. Coghlan is in the face of Dale Scott. Perry Hill going to get between them. And Coghlan not real happy right now. Here comes Edwin Rodriguez. And we'll take a look as we go to break. Coghlan felt he had the hustle hit and beat Narveson. And you know what?
He did.
He did. It's close, though. 5-0 Milwaukee. Sanchez goes 5 innings, and he leaves after giving up the 5 runs on 8 hits. And so the Hopper will face Josh Wilson, Chris Narveson, then top of the order Ricky Weeks. And a strike to Wilson, who didn't like the call. Josh has singled and struck out. Hopper got a lot of movement on his fastball right now. He'll get that heavy sink. He'll also get a lot of good run into a right-handed hitter. Bends a breaking ball up there. Coghlan goes back and makes the catch. You saw in that replay, it's a bang-bang play. We talked about last night, Tommy, the mechanics of calling it at first base. It's whenever something is a little off than the regular, ball hits glove, foot on the bag.
Yeah, watch the hand. It is bang bang. There was a little hesitation on the part of Narveson and Fielder, because I think Fielder initially thought the ball might have been foul, and Narveson didn't get over there as quickly as possible. And then with the head first slide, that's always, I guarantee umpires will tell you this, a tough call for them.
Hopper out in front, 0-2. So the Marlins hope that their bullpen can hang on and that somebody can make some noise offensively. Bonifacio behind the bag. And Emilio throws
out Narveson. 2 outs here in the 6th. Ricky Weeks, the batter.
Ricky Weeks had a big day already. 2-run homer, RBI single, scored a couple of runs.
$11 homers now, and it's a big day for Weeks as far as a milestone. That home run was his 100th of his young career.
And we talked about it the other night. I think if not for a lot of wrist injuries, wrist surgery, he'd probably gotten to that milestone sooner.
You're right. And now that the wrist is healthy, and the Brewers saw the year that he had last year when he hit 29 homers, they dropped a 4-year, $38 million contract on him. He's not your prototypical leadoff guy. Number one, and he hits a lot of home runs. Number two, he does strike out a lot.
I think one of the first guys who fell into that not your typical leadoff guy, a lot of strikeouts but home runs, was Bobby Bonds. He could steal a base many times, a 30-30 guy, but struck out a lot, but hit home runs and could also play the outfield.
As long as Weeks hits around 280, 290, his on-base percentage is going to be 340, 350. That's not bad, especially when you're hitting 29 homers a year. Counts 2-2. Badenhop. Count stays at 2-2. Weeks in the Brewers here for one more night. Tomorrow night, Javier Vasquez for the Fish. And of course, Zach Greinke for the Brewers. Greinke 4-1 on the season. Slow tapper. It's going to be a tough play. Bonifacio just got it. That was bang bang as well. 1-2-3. The hopper going through the Brewers in the 6th. Wide freeze cam. Oh, the play at first. Bang, bang. Freeze it. Wow. That's the Frost Brew Coors Light freeze cam. You know, even looking at it, we've seen it probably 5 times in Foxmo.
Yeah, I think seeing it like the second or third time, I don't know if Narveson touched the corner. Because that's maybe what Coughlin was arguing.
But it's still, I mean,
it's still bang, bang.
We're still looking at it in slow motion going, man, did he beat it? Did he not beat it? Here's Infante. And he takes a strike. Omar Infante, Logan Morrison, Gabby Sanchez all lined up in the bottom of the 6th, and Chris Narveson is on a roll. Marlins don't have a hit since Gabby's hit back in the 1st. Infante lofts a pop into left. Ryan Braun has it under control. Remember when Ryan Braun made the transition from third base to left field? He looked like, remember Lonnie Smith back in the days?
You know what they used to call Lonnie? Skates. They called him Skates.
But it wasn't an easy transition because Braun was a college infielder and came up the Brewers system as I believe a third baseman. And they made the transition much like the Marlins stuck Chris Coughlin out there in left field. And that first season, you know, there were some adventures. He's turned into a pretty nice left fielder.
Yes, he has. Good athlete, and that's why he's just learned the position. A little more comfortable for him out there to hit 30 home runs and drive in 100 every year.
And 1. Morrison 0 for 2, 0 for 10 in this series. And he walks. Time for Home Depot doing more on defense. This was from last night's ballgame. This was the play by Logan Morrison. The catch. And remember there was an argument at this. As you see Morrison go down. And on his way back up, the ball popped out of his glove. Ron Renicky came out to argue that that was not a catch. The rule is that an outfielder has to complete the play when he makes the catch. And the argument was with Dale Scott, the second base umpire. Gabby takes outside. I went in and talked to Dale Scott about that play, and he said the rule is it's not that an outfielder has to reach in and take it out of his glove. It's if it's a continuous play and it comes out, then yeah, it's not a catch. Gabby drives this one into right center field. That's in the gap, and it's going to go to the wall. Morrison is digging, and Joe Espada will send him an RBI double, and the Marlins are on the board.
Gabby has had the approach that every hitter, righty or lefty, should have this afternoon against Narveson. He has stayed back. His base hit in the first inning was to right field. He lined out to center. He stays back here, gets a pitch up, and lines it into right center for 2 bases. Great approach today by Gabby Sanchez, who does supply Art Checker's double of the game.
Morrison is always running hard. Gabby's in scoring position, and here is Stanton.
To follow up on what Dale Scott told you, I liked what you said. He said the analogy, it would be like if an outfielder catches a fly ball for the 3rd out, never reaches in and brings it out of the glove, and as he's jogging in, it comes out of the glove. So good analogy.
Ball and a strike to Stanton. And Narveson steps off. Scott said that if the ball popped out as Morrison crashed to the warning track, then it would not have been a catch. But since he had stopped, gathered himself, and was starting to stand up, the catch or the play had stopped. It's outside. It's 2-1. Dale Scott, a big Oregon Duck fan, was wearing an Oregon hat in the clubhouse. Stanton ropes one into left field. That's a base hit. Stop sign is up. Braun has the ball. And the Marlins have something going here in the 6th inning. Back-to-back hits after the walk to Morrison.
All of a sudden, in this inning, Chris Narbison has gotten some pitches up out over the plate. He's lucky he only gave up a single that time. You saw the pitch to Gabby. That was up and out over the plate. So he's kept the ball down pretty well all afternoon, but he's gotten himself in trouble, and he's paid for it in this inning. And because of that, the bullpen gets busy. Marco Estrada starts to get loose.
Marco Estrada up. It seems like the Brewers have like 12 relievers, doesn't it? I don't think we've seen have we seen the same guy twice except for Axford?
We saw Hawkins, Braddock, and Lowe. We saw Mitre, Dillard, and McClendon.
That's 6. And Axford, that's 7. Estrada would be the 8th different reliever the Marlins would have seen.
So Ron Renicky spreading the wealth down in that bullpen.
Narbison misses outside. Greg Dobbs was the hitter with the bases loaded and 2 outs in the first, and he bounced to second. As we pointed out throughout the show, for Dobbs, just 8 at-bats against lefties this year. And Narbison is missed up, and it's 2-0. Bonifacio is on deck. Gabby Sanchez across the diamond, Mike Stanton. It's a 5-1 game. In 3-0. You give Greg Dobbs the take sign here?
I think so, yeah. Because he hasn't seen a lot of lefties. I mean, you know he's going to get a fastball.
Real pitch is up and in, and he walks, and the bags are loaded.
Yeah, clearly Narbison getting tired, losing it, whatever you want to say, and Renicky sees that too. Everything up in this inning, and the Brewers are going to make their pitching change.
So Estrada's coming in, 5-1 Brewers. Maroney called to the pen.
Need a car, truck or van. Who you gonna call? Maroney!
Stop by any Metro PCS store in Miami, Broward, or Palm Beach before the 10th of July. Register to win a trip for 2 to see the Marlins play in San Diego, 19th through the 21st. Trip includes airfare, hotel, and tickets to all 3 games. Don't wait. Stop by your local Metro PCS store today. Metro PCS, wireless for all. Well, Marco Estrada comes out of the Brewers bullpen.
Right, you look at him throwing fastball, sliders, but also lots of changeups. He's one of those guys he'll double up on the changeup, righties and lefties. And This is one of those situations, Rich, that you as a hitter, and for the first time today, Bonifacio will go over to the left side. You got to tell yourself the pitcher's the one that's in the jam. He's the one out there with the bases loaded and just one out.
Well, it flips Bonifacio around. You've got Brett Hayes on deck. The Marlins with an opportunity here to climb back in this ball game. Just one out. Middle infield is back for two. The corners are in to respect Bonifacio's bunting ability. And Estrada comes to the plate with a changeup.
That tells you how he feels about his changeup, how confident he is throwing it on the first pitch to a hitter with the bases loaded.
And Bonifacio was almost a second ahead of that pitch. Threw it again. There's Gabby who doubled. Stanton who singled. Dobbs who walked. So back-to-back changeups. Let's see if Bonifacio gets a third one.
Yep. 3 changeups in a row.
3 strikes in a row.
Wow. You've got to know that from the scouting report. You have to know that. If you sit in meetings and listen and go over pitchers, I'm sure this guy's name came up, and they'll tell you he throws a lot of changeups. That's the important at bat, the one with 1 out. With 2 out now, a lot tougher for Brett Hayes up there.
Breaking ball misses in, and it's 1-0. We'll see in this sequence if Estrada likes that changeup enough to throw it to a right-handed hitter. You saw him throw the breaking ball, first one that we've seen from him. His first fastball. He's missed on everything except the 3 changeups.
And don't be surprised if he throws a changeup. The problem is, for Brett Hayes right now, you can't look changeup on this pitch. But I wouldn't be surprised if he throws it.
Hayes has walked and struck out. He's 0 for 2 in the series. Fastball right down the middle, and it's 2-1. Marco Estrada's 2-1 pitch. Fastball, and Hayes fouled it back. So he's seen everything but the changeup in this AB. Edward Mujica, pitcher spot, is on deck for the Marlins. Scott Cousins is on deck. Two. Breaking ball. Hayes hits it. Left field. And deep. Get out of here. Grand slam. Tie game. How about that?
Marco Estrada is saying, what happened to my changeup? He went with a slider. Brett Hayes all over it. Getting a start, just his 8th start of the year, and a grand slam. Wow.
Coors Light Cold Hard Blast was on it and drilled it.
Backed up in a perfect zone. Hazer knew it. Hazer hit a taser.
A blue cedar, and here is Cousins. The Marlins have been waiting and wanting and needing that big hit with runners in scoring position, and it's Brett Hayes who delivers big time. Cousins takes a strike on the outside corner.
First career grand slam. Talking about grand slams, Scott Cousins hit one earlier in the year.
Cousins wasn't happy about that first strike. You can see it was out. Cousins flips that one into left field. Braun is back. He's there and he makes the catch. Brett Hayes, a big blow, a grand slam, and a new ball game.
Y es presentado por KFC.
In Miami this afternoon, 5-5 ball game, gentlemen.
Hey guys, how's it going?
Tommy, how are you?
Good, good. Could you feel it? Could you feel the grand slam?
It's about time that we were hoping for. We were blowing at the same time. One swing and everything is tight.
Brett Hayes has not played a lot this year, but when he does, he produces.
No question about it. We were talking about it in the last night game. I said it's about time to give maybe Buck a little day off because it's getting hot right now, and he's been catching a lot of games, and Hayes has done a great job. And in the past, he has shown us that he has power.
Yes, he has. Now the bullpen has to keep it right here and allow the Marlins to try to score some more. Have a good show, guys.
Well, you too, guys.
Y toque hacia atrás.
Nigel Morgan pops up a bunt. Edward Mujica is next out of the bullpen. Burke Badenhop worked a scoreless sixth. Nigel Morgan, Ryan Braun, and Prince Fielder. So Mujica's right into the heat of it.
Well, the Marlins, Rich, have hit 4 grand slams this year. Remember, of course, opening day, John Buck, Scott Cousins, first Major League home run, a grand slam. Mike Stanton hit one in St. Louis. And Brett Hayes this afternoon.
Little tapper up the line. You talk about Hayes and what he's done in the little playing time that he's had. This is only the 15th game in which he's actually appeared in. A total of now 32 at bats. Fastball is up. And those 32 at-bats, a pair of homers, 10 RBIs, 3 doubles.
Productive.
Very productive and solid behind the plate. In the air, shallow right, Infante's out, Stanton's in, and Mike makes the catch. Niger Morgan pops out.
Overall, Rich, the Marlins, with the bases loaded, and this kind of goes against the lately with the runners in scoring position thing, but overall with the bases loaded, and this is before today, we're 396 with 4 doubles, 57 RBIs, so that number goes up with the grand slam of Brett Hayes. 407 now.
Ryan Braun has singled in 3 trips. And a strike from Mujica. Well, in a tight game last night, the Brewers were a run better. A 3-2 win, a 6-5 win in game 1 on Friday night. And here it's 5-5 in the top of the 7th.
Yeah, the last 3 losses, actually the 3 losses here in the month of June, have all been 1-run games.
Good fastball in on Braun, and it's 1-2. Marlins trying to stop this slide. They've lost 3 in a row and 5 of 6, and their record is just 6 over now at 31-25. The Brewers are actually 6 over at 32-26. Nice play. Stays at 1-2. The Phillies have actually started to score some runs.
Yeah, it's a Roy Halladay game too, by the way, in Pittsburgh.
3-2. Phillies on top of the Pirates, going to the bottom of the 5th. That's not a Charlie Morton-Roy Halladay matchup, is it?
No, Charlie Morton went last night.
Morton's windup, of course, when we were in Pittsburgh, was a swing and a miss.
Charlie Morton beat the Phillies last night. He's 6-2 with a 2.5 ERA.
Actually, when the Pirates were here, is it Ray Searage, their pitching coach?
Yes, Pirates.
We were talking about the pitching motions and how Morton has kind of modeled himself after Halladay and how similar they are. JM Lexus presents our leaders of the game. Prince Fielder, fewest ABs to homer against the Fish. There's Mark Reynolds and Ryan Howard at JM Lexus. Price made us #1. Click jmlexus.com to find out how. Mujica facing Fielder. He's like Ryan Howard. Every time he swings the bat, you're expecting the ball to go 400 feet.
Explosive swings, tremendous bat speed.
Must be nice to go to arbitration and walk out with both sides settling on $15.5 million. Is that the largest arbitration? Or did Howard have a larger one?
No, I think Fielder did.
Fielder has the record. Tim Lincecum might have had the record. Didn't I believe the Giants gave Lincecum a 2-year deal? (3-1) coming. And Prince Fielder is on his way to first base. So Mujica walks the Brewers' big first baseman, and as a consolation prize, he gets Corey Hart, who is hot right now. He's got a double in this ball game, 4 hits in the series. Still coming back from his oblique injury.
That's the thing about Fielder. 30 strikeouts and 30 walks on the season.
$1 million contract, which has him signed through this year. But I think Lincecum is eligible for arbitration next year.
Yeah, that's going to another solid year, which he's having, another solid, healthy year this year. That's going to jump up a little bit.
Good breaking ball. And it counts 1-2. That one may have been off the plate. And it was.
Look at the expression on Corey Hart.
Oh, he could get some. So the Marlins bullpen has turned in 2 scoreless innings in a 5-5 game. A Brett Hayes grand slam have tied this ball game. Let's take a look at the upcoming Marlins schedule, brought to you by Just For Men Hair Color. Milwaukee tomorrow night, 6:30 start. Zach Greinke, Javier Vasquez. Just as we look forward to the upcoming schedule, you can live forward with Just For Men Hair Color.
You know, the Marlins, Rich, have seen a little bit of Zach Greinke in interleague play. A couple of games, 1 start. He's beaten the fish. But a nice comeback to this point. What a charge that grand slam puts into the offense and gives you a much different feeling and a better feeling on that bench.
Marlins have lost their last 3 Sunday ball games.
Think about the last 2 Sundays. They saw Clayton Kershaw, who was magnificent in Los Angeles, a complete game shutout, and they saw James Shields of the Rays here with a complete game shutout. 13 strikeouts for Shields.
Marco Estrada, who gave up the big home run, 4 of those runs went into Chris Narvison's column. Only Hayes went into Estrada's column. Estrada ended up getting 2 outs to finish the 6th. He'll start the 7th, and the Marlins have the top of their order up: Chris Coghlan, Omar Infante, and Logan Morrison.
Narvison, Rich, will have one of those lines. If you haven't witnessed this game, if you look at box scores tomorrow, you'll see 5 1/3, 4 hits, 4 runs, 5 walks, 3 strikeouts, a line that really doesn't tell the story as to how he pitched.
Here's Chris Coughlin now. Coughlin an 0 for 3 ball game, and Estrada misses outside. Chris narrowly missed beating out an infield single in the 5th in that bang play at the 1st. Here's that changeup, and it's 2-0.
Came in, he threw 3 straight changeups to Bonifacio to strike him out before the Hayes grand slam.
Coughlin turned around, wanted to know where that pitch was. It was not on Fox Trax' radar. That's why he asked. Counts 2-2. Mets and Braves are tonight. Of course, last night the Mets shutting out the Braves. Coughlin flips it foul. Tim Hudson against R.A. Dickey in that one. There's a real contrast in pitchers. Also tonight, Houston is at San Diego. Nationals are in Arizona.
Yeah, we told you about Arizona, back-to-back shutouts against the Nationals.
That's out. When Coughlin walks, and here comes Infante.
Very patient, very good at bat that time by Chris Coughlin.
Coughlin has stolen 6 bases, but he's been caught 6 times, including last night. And you've got Infante, who handles the bat quite well. Morrison and Gabby Sanchez right around the corner.
And Estrada has been around the plate. When he missed, when he's missed, he hasn't missed much.
Infante squares, and it's 1-0.
The few times we've seen Omar Infante try to drop down a sacrifice bunt, he's done it 3 times this year. He's been very successful.
Brewers were not really expecting that. Ricky Weeks, the Brewers second baseman, was still way over the middle by the bag at second.
And I wouldn't, if I'm the Brewers infield, I wouldn't expect a bunt on this one either. I mean, you have to think about it more. But Edwin could change things around.
Estrada ready.
A lot of managers have the pitcher throw to first. There was just a little bit of flinch in Omar's bat, as if he were going to square. I've also known hitters that'll do that to decoy a pitcher too.
He squares, tries to bunt, and it's a foul ball. Counts 1. Marlins playing for a run here in the bottom of the 7th in a 5-5 game. To accomplish the big things, like scoring runs, you got to do the little things, like getting guys on and getting them over. And for the most part, that's a frustrating thing. The Marlins have done a lot of those little things. They've been able to get guys
done
on.
That little stuff, got him on, got him over, and then they haven't been able to complete the deal. They've gotten the door open. They haven't been able to complete the sale all the time.
Coughlin's running, hit and run, and it's popped up. Coughlin has to stop and come back. Luke Croy and Fielder, and it's Fielder who makes the catch. Luke Croy either didn't hear him, but that's not a guy you want to run into, Prince Fielder.
Yeah, it's the kind of guy you want to hear.
And it doesn't look like Fielder called for it.
Yeah, I didn't see Fielder. You couldn't see his. He's not calling for it there. And that's why there was some problem. Fortunately for Milwaukee. Boy, it almost came out of Fielder's glove, too.
So there's one out. Coughlin's still at first. And here's Morrison. See if he gets a diet of changeups. Nope, fastball first pitch.
Tough pitch, by the way, for Infante on that hit and run. Looked like a fastball in.
Morrison strokes it to center field. Nigel Morgan is there. And he makes the catch.
Yeah, Lomo all of a sudden cooled off 0 for his last 13 now.
Gabby Sanchez is not cool. Well, he is cool, but at the plate, he is hot. He is 6 for 12 in this series, including an RBI double, a line drive single, and his out today was a line drive to the center fielder, Nigel Morgan.
Yeah, Gabby's first look at Marco Estrada.
.38 RBIs now for Gabby. High pop, left center, Morgan in, Braun is in, and it's Morgan who makes the running catch. Leadoff runner on, and he didn't score by 5. In the Baker Concrete Super Saturday, presented by your South Florida Ford dealers. Marlins take on the Diamondbacks at 7:10. Fans get a Marlins Thunder Stick courtesy of New Era Cap 1-877-Marlins or go to marlins.com. And where Mujica flips up a breaking ball to Jonathan Lucroy with Craig Counsell and Josh Wilson to follow. 8th inning has arrived, and it's a 5-5 game. It was a 5-0 game. The Brewers were cruising until the Marlins in the bottom of the 6th finally got back in it. First a little with the RBI double by Gabby Sanchez, and then a lot with the 2-out grand slam by Brett Hayes. Mujica's throwing well, and it counts 1-2.
Saw Cameron Lowe getting loose. We saw him last night.
Ball and 2 strikes. Mujica last pitched on Wednesday in the 1-run loss to the Diamondbacks. Went foul back. That's the thing about this losing streak for the Marlins. All 3 games are 1-run games.
Yeah, Marlins looking for their first win here in June. But they've been in. Yeah, you get a different feeling. If you're getting blown out every game, you have one feeling. But when you're losing close games, you have another feeling. Neither one of them are very good. But at least you have that feeling you're in games.
Mike Dunn in the Marlins pen. One-two coming. Left center field. Coughlin got a good jump. He's there to make the catch. Jonathan Lucroy is out number 1. Craig Counsell comes up. Counsell is 0 for 3. American League action. Texas taking a 2-0 lead over Cleveland into the top of the 9th. That's in Cleveland. Boston has a 5-3 lead over Oakland in the bottom of the 6th in Boston. Carl Crawford and Adrian Gonzalez have homered for the Red Sox. Kevin Kuzminoff for Oakland.
Crawford has absolutely been on fire. You know, remember, he got off to such a horrible start. He was 4 for 7 in their 14-inning game last night. And he's got to be right around 250. He's getting close to 250.
Blue Jays are winning in Baltimore 7-3. Toronto can move a game over 500 with a win. The Rays 2 over 500 starting play. Dobbs makes the catch. So far so good for Edward Mujica. Yeah, the Rays are in Seattle. They'll face Eric Bedard. That game starting in about a half an hour.
That's Seattle. 2 games over 500. 2.5 games behind Texas.
It feels strange to say it's a wide open division with only 4 teams in it.
It's almost like last year, everybody's cool pick was Seattle, and they were horrible. This year, but he didn't even consider Seattle, and they're playing good baseball.
They're getting great pitching, great starting pitching. And Bedard being healthy is just one piece of it. Obviously, Felix Hernandez, Michael Pineda. Jason Vargas, former Marlin, former Met, has been outstanding.
So the Marlins will dip into that American League West in interleague play.
The Marlins also could get Doug Fister. Swing and a miss. Josh Wilson goes down. Edward Mujica turns in 2 scoreless innings. And Brewers, bottom of the 8th inning. Full question, Tickets of America. What do you think of when you hear Milwaukee? See, I think of, there's a lot of things to think of. I think of racing sausages.
I think of brats.
So that would go under German food.
Yeah.
Mine would be German food with legs. You know, Laverne and Shirley, come on, maybe the Fonz.
I actually think of cheese more than I think of beer in Milwaukee.
Mike Stanton now against Cameron Lowe. The Marlins have seen 8 different relievers from the Brewers in this series. Stanton singled back in the 6th.
Lowe's the guy we talked about last night with that heavy sinker.
Granada Hills High School.
Came in, gave up just a base hit, infield base hit to Gabby.
He really tied Stanton up, and it's 1-2.
That pitch that a lot of pitchers try to work Mike Stanton in. We see him get sawed off. We see him swing and miss a lot of times when it's off the plate. And I think one of the main things, and he works on this as he gets older again, he's 21. He'll learn to lay off that pitch. And that'll change a pitcher's thinking a little bit. Boy, there's that sinker.
So Stanton strikes out. Second time he has punched out today.
You can just see the bottom fall out of this. Talk about the heavy bowling ball type sinker from Cameron Lowe.
Here's Dobbs now. Dobbs, his first AB against a right-hander in this game. He was 0 for 2 with a walk against Chris Narveson. The walk was important because it loaded the bases, and he was the last guy that Narveson faced. Marco Estrada came in and struck out Emilio Bonifacio with the bases loaded and 1 out. And I think everybody in the ballpark and the Marlins, maybe themselves in the dugout, were thinking to themselves, oh, here we go again. The Marlins have struggled so much with runners in scoring position. Dobbs takes low. And then Brett Hayes came to the plate, worked a deep count, and got a breaking ball from Estrada and hit it out for a grand slam to tie the game. Dobbs, a sharp ground ball into right field, a base hit. This man just keeps hitting and hitting.
You know, he had good ABs in the ballgame last night. Didn't get a hit, but swung the bat well. And we were talking before the game how you try to take that away from a game. Yes, you were 0 for, but you had good swings and you had good at-bats. And we both agree that's a tough part for a young hitter, to process that.
Well, here's Bonifacio. He had a tough at-bat in the 6th inning against Estrada, who got him with 3 consecutive changeups. So he'll be battling the sinkers from Lowe with 1 out. This is outside, and it's 1-0. There was a time where Greg Dobbs could steal you a base long ago. He was a fast runner.
He had terrific speed.
Coming up in the Seattle organization. Ruptured an Achilles tendon. And that'll slow anybody down. Bonifacio hits that ball pretty well. Morgan turns around and makes the catch. And here comes Brett Hayes now. As productive as Hayes has been, and here's a look at the grand slam. At what point, Tommy, does he earned more playing time. I mean, he's done
I think he's earned it, and I think it's clear that, especially as we get into summer with hotter games, that John Buck is going to need more days off. And I certainly think Brett Hayes has earned it.
A 1-for-2 game. Has also walked and struck out outside of the grand slam in the 6th. 2 homers, 10 driven in. He's behind the count now, 0-2. Nunez getting ready. A tie game at home, often it's the closer who will come in and pitch the 9th. Dobbs is running, Hayes is hitting, and he smokes one foul. Dobbs got a pretty good jump.
Yeah, you were talking about Dobbs coming up in the Seattle organization. In his time in the minor leagues, over 450 games, a .303 career hitter in the minor leagues.
Lucroy wants a breaking ball. Hayes hits that one to left center field. And Morgan has plenty of room and makes the catch. So the Marlins are done in the 8th. Nothing is settled yet as we enter the 9th. Is in, and the Brewers have 9-1-2 coming up. It's like veteran Mark Kotze is going to get the at-bat. Nunez enters with an 0-2 record, and having blown his last 2 save opportunities, this not a save opportunity.
Well, the last time we saw Leo in this series, he came in and gave up that bloop base hit. And then the fastball that Ryan Braun hit into the blue seats for a 2-run homer.
Kotze, a ground ball out to short. Bonifacio. And there's one out.
Like he had Kotze out in front of a changeup.
Got Ricky Weeks, Niger Morgan, and then if either of those two guys get on, then you've got the rematch between Ryan Braun and Nunez. Braun is the guy that hit the pinch hit homer. Weeks hit the homer today. A 2-run shot in the third. Drove in a run with a single in the fourth. Oh, 1.
A good sequence, good changeup, then blew the fastball by Weeks, who was a good fastball hitter.
$13,208 in this Mammoth football stadium today.
Think how on a hot Sunday afternoon, how comfortable and nice it'll be in the new ballpark.
Over 70% complete is that new ballpark. One-two pitch. Couple of arms in the pen. Axford in case the Brewers get the lead. Hawkins, in all probability, if the game is still tied in the bottom of the ninth. And a 2-2 coming from Leo Nunez. Shallow left, Morrison calling. 2 outs. Here comes Niger Morgan. Morgan, who homered yesterday against Chris Volstad.
With the exception of a mistake or two, Chris Volstad threw the ball very well last night.
Yeah, I think the mistake was to Morgan. The ball that Fielder hit out was kind of off the plate, and Fielder drove it out to left field.
7 innings for Chris. Gave up 6 hits and 3 runs.
Nunez throwing hard, and he's out in front 0-2. Trying to give his team a chance to win it in the ninth. The Marlins will have 9-1-2 scheduled in the ninth. Struck him out. Nunez strikes out Niger Morgan. A 1-2-3 ninth for Leo. And the Marlins go to the bottom of the ninth, all tied 5-5. On Fox Sports Florida is brought to you by Marooney, South Florida. When you need a car, truck, or van, who are you going to call? 1-877-MAROONEY. And by Xfinity, your home for the most live sports. There's your line score. The Marlins getting 4 of their 5 runs on a 2-out Brett Hayes grand slam. That coming in the 6th. They scored all their runs in the 6th. And yet another arm out of the Brewers bullpen, LaTroy Hawkins. Very good start to this season. His 15th appearance and an ERA of under 1.
Well, we talked about Hawkins the other night, a solid veteran guy in their bullpen, an assortment of stuff. Curves, sliders, he'll mix in a split. Fastball.
Wes Helms will pinch hit. He's about the only guy that you could have pinch hit here. John Buck is available, but you want to hold off your extra catcher as long as you can. And so it's Helms against Hawkins, then Coghlan and Infante.
Yeah, remember, Cousins has already hit. Ozzie Martinez has already hit.
Hanley Ramirez is still on the roster, but obviously is not able to play.
So basically, Edwin playing with 24 men.
Which is all well and good if you get off to a big lead and you finish the game regularly, but if it's a grinded out, you got to come from behind and pinch hit early game, like the Marlins had to do. You burn Martinez, you burn Cousins. And now here's Helms with Buck, the only guy left. 0-2 coming.
Yeah, it works out okay if your starter's going 7 innings or more. But as Hannibal struggled today, really for the first time in a while, I went 5 innings. Now you have to go to that bench a little sooner.
Hawkins 38 out of Gary, Indiana. Is Gary, Indiana the home of the Jackson 5?
I think you're right.
One and 2. Career numbers for LaTroy Hawkins. 17th year. He is 60 and 84 with an ERA of 4.5. He just missed.
Well, he's had a couple of fastballs that he missed just off the plate. Every pitch Wes has seen has been a fastball so far. Anything close though out there this time, I think Wes better be hacking.
Counts 2-2. Up the middle, base hit. A pinch hit for Helms to open up the 9th.
You'll remember the Marlins had the leadoff man on base in the 7th inning. Were not able to cash in. Wes finds that hole up the middle, squeaks one through with a nice pinch hit single.
And as you saw on that Fox Tracks, those 2 pitches that just missed outside were outside. And so now it's Coghlan. Coghlan drops down a bunt. Hawkins going to go to second and get Helms.
With Wes Helms running, you've got to really make an almost perfect bunt. That bunt a little too hard. Hawkins was able to get off the mound and give him credit for turning and making a strong throw to get the lead runner. A little too hard on the bunt. Good position, good fielding position for Hawkins, and a strong throw to Wilson at shortstop. Now you've added a little speed, but the runner's still at first base.
And the Price was an out.
Yeah.
Infante now. Remember, these two tried a hit and run back in the 7th. Infante got a high fastball and popped it up. And Hawkins misses up high with a fastball there. It's 1-0. Coughlin 6 stolen bases this year. Ball and a strike. Marlins trying to make this a come-from-behind win. They were down 5-0 in the fourth. And not until the bottom of the sixth did they finally break through against Chris Narveson, who pitched one of his better games of the year. Until that sixth inning, Gabby Sanchez an RBI double, and then the enormous 2-out grand slam by Brett Hayes. Fonte fires it foul. Hawkins has that classic over-the-top release. One-two. Up the middle into center field, a solid base hit. Coughlin takes the turn. Morgan was there quickly. And it's first and second. There's one out. Here comes Logan Morrison.
Second base hit this afternoon for Omar Infante, and absolutely ripped up the middle. Hit it so hard that Coughlin really couldn't think about going first to third. This is charged by Morgan, too.
This has been a struggle for Logan Morrison, and the Brewers bullpen, they don't have an arm up and ready, do they?
No, the only left-hander they have we saw last night, Zach Braddock.
He was up. He hasn't been up long. And so Braddock's going to come in the ball game. 5-5, a Marooney call to the pen.
Car, truck or van. Who you gonna
now up in the pen, comes into this ball game with runners first and second. Logan Morrison, and behind him Gabby Sanchez.
Well, Braddock came in the game last night in the seventh inning. Nobody was on base, but he came in to face Logan Morrison, and he got him on a pop fly to third. So these two familiar with each other. Lomo has struggled over the last few games. He's 0 for 13, and he is due.
Well, the winning run at second, you've got good wheels in Chris Coughlin. Infante, the trail runner. In the bottom of the ninth, Braddock against Morrison.
And then you got the right-hander down there, Dillard. Should it go beyond Logan Morrison and get to Gabby Sanchez?
Hit him. Fastball up and in. That may be the only pitch that Braddock throws.
So much for matchups. All that maneuvering, all that warming up. Bring in the left-hander. To face the left-hander, he goes up and in, doesn't even come close to throwing a strike. And here comes Renicky again to make the move. And remember, Dillard was one who made a couple of right-handers, Gabby being one of them, look real bad striking out the other night.
The lefty comes in and with the first pitch hits Morrison. That's a Reniel Pinto flashback. Zabaruni called to the pen.
Truck or van, who you gonna call? Marooney!
Brewers, Marlins, and the submariner Tim Dillard comes out of the Milwaukee bullpen. He's got a variety of release points.
Yeah, he got Gabby and John Buck to chase that submarine slinging breaking ball that was way out of the strike zone. Came in the first game of this series, struck out 2 in the inning that he worked.
He's the 5th reliever for the Brewers, who are going to go with 5 infielders and bring Ryan Braun back to the infield. You see Braun is closest out there to second. So
that's interesting because we've seen Edwin employ this defensive play.
Gabby Sanchez is up. Just 2 in the outfield. Bags loaded. Dillard against Gabby Sanchez with 5 Brewers on the infield. First pitch. There's that submarining breaking ball, that frisbee slider at 71 miles an hour.
Got a feeling the way Gabby approached that pitch, he was looking for it, but just didn't get it.
Coughlin, 90 feet away. Bags are loaded. Dillard steps off. Oh, 1. Fastball, and it had a good run to it.
Yeah, it's a well, you get those 2 pitches. He buries that fastball in, slings that slider away. I would say Gabby is due. Believe it or not, he does not have a walk-off hit, a walk-off game-winning hit. He's due.
Does he get the frisbee or does he get the fastball? Puts a lot of pressure on Lucroy if it is that breaking ball in the dirt. 0-2. Fastball, ground ball to the plate, out there, and that's it. Nice play by Craig Counsell at third. And Lucroy had to hop out of the way from the sliding Chris Coughlin. So the bags are loaded. It's down to Stanton.
And to answer your question, no, he didn't get that frisbee. Came right back in with that fastball that runs in on the hands. Counsell makes a play. That's what he does, makes those steady plays. Lucroy jumps out of the way. He didn't have a play at first base. So the Marlins get one more chance here.
Stanton now has struck out twice, singled and walked. Brewers back to their 4 infield set. Everybody back in their normal spots. Stanton to left field, a broken bat, and Braun will make the catch. And it's extra innings. The Marlins had him loaded with 1 out and could not get the game winner. Jack Link's Beef Jerky, extra innings, presented all season long. Feed your wild side. 5-5 in the 10th. And now the Marlins bullpen has to keep putting up zeros. They have done that since they entered in the 6th inning. Burke Badenhop, an inning. Edward Mujica, 2 innings. Leo Nunez, an inning. And now Mike Dunn gets the baseball.
And he gets the meat of the order of the Milwaukee Brewers. He gets Braun, Fielder, and Hart here in this 10th inning.
Well, we've seen the Marlins struggle with runners in scoring position. We saw him get a big hit, the biggest that you could get, the grand slam from Brett Hayes. But in the 9th inning, bags loaded and a 1 out. Tim Dillard able to get both Gabby Sanchez and Mike Stanton. This is a dangerous first hitter for Dunn. We've seen it a couple of occasions. Dunn trying to get ahead of a right-handed hitter when he first enters. Lance Berkman comes to mind in St. Louis. Big home run for the Cardinals against him.
The Marlins 4-5 in their 9 extra inning games. Neither team has been tremendously spectacular with runners in scoring position today. The Brewers are 2 for 10. The Marlins just 2 for 8, and they've left 9 on base. The Marlins have left 29 on base in 3 games.
That really hurts in 2 one-run losses now and extra innings here. Dunn tries a backdoor breaking ball. Braun splits this year. All of his homers against right-handers. Stanton, and it's Infante. Stanton was calling for it. The wind is swirling, and Infante smartly never left and ended up underneath it and made the catch. We apologize for the last burst of profanity. We do not apologize for having Mark Butler, the best audio man in all of baseball.
or for Ryan Braun making an out. I think that gives you an idea how that wind is swirling out there. It looked like it would be to right field.
Fielder fouls it off. It's 0-2. The dynamic duo of Braun and Fielder combining for 88 RBIs and 26 homers now. Both have homered in this series. Fielder in each of the first 2 games. Braun's pinch hit homer essentially won game 1. Counts 0-2.
I think a lot of people would be surprised at the number 2 duo in RBIs in baseball coming into play today.
American League team.
White Sox, Paul Konerko and Carlos Quinton. And then Adrian Gonzalez and Kevin Youkilis.
Yeah, those
number 3.
He's having a nice year.
Adrian Gonzalez is doing what all of us in the National League have seen him do for the last few years. Not a surprise at all.
One, 2. Fielder pops it up. Dobbs, the wind and the sun, and the catch. Here comes Corey Hart.
The Brewers have not had a base hit, Rich, since the 4th inning.
Yeah, the bullpen has been terrific. And remember, it was Anibal Sanchez that came out and finished the 5th.
So Hopper, Mujica, Nunez, and now Dunn. They have not allowed a base.
Hart sprays one foul. In the bottom of the 10th, the Marlins will have Dobbs, Bonifacio, and Hayes. And then the pitcher spot, and they've got only one position player left, and that's John Buck. Who's your emergency hitter as a pitcher? Is it Ricky Nolasco? Oh, it's Javi Vasquez, right?
Javi Vasquez is pitching tomorrow night, so he's your hitter. Saw Javi pinch hit in Arizona.
Mm-hmm. But I think there's probably 2 or 3 other hitters that would volunteer their services too. Volstad, who looked good.
Chris
at the plate.
Volstad swung the bat well last night.
If you need a sacrifice bunt, Nolasco's probably the best bunter of the group.
Well, here's how you'd have to think about it. I think Vasquez is, but you may want to hold him back to hit.
Nolasco has 6 sacrifices so far this year. There's Axford. Dunn misses low. The count evens at 2-2.
The choices Edwin wants to have, though.
No. That's why the Marlins are going to have to make a move, or maybe a series of moves after the ball game. There's the 2-2. Hart hits it to center field, hits it well. Coughlin going back. He's there, and he makes the catch. So that scoreless streak by the bullpen continues. 5-5 to the bottom of the 10th. Extra Inning Baseball on Fox Sports Florida is brought to you by Jack Link's Beef Jerky. Feed your wild side. Jack Link's Beef Jerky.
Little taxi shuttle out there, Rich. Going over to your mansion, I think. Over. Just that's your boat too, right there.
That's right. That's right, Tommy. Well, the Submariner, so to speak, is still in there. Tim Dillard. Greg Dobbs will get the first look at him. Then you've got Bonifacio and Brett Hayes. We saw John Axford up in the Brewers bullpen. And if you're on the road and you're tied, you got to get your closer at least up and in the position to get loose and heated up. It's a delicate dance that a manager has to employ, because if he gets his closer heated up a couple of times, you may have to shut him down if it's 2 or 3 times. But so you get the guy up, let him throw a little bit, and say, hey, just wait.
And we've already seen him 2 nights in a row, yeah.
So bottom of the 10th, Dobbs 1 for 3, singled his last time up. Fastball from Dillard.
Not that this guy is an easy guy to face, but a little easier for left-handed hitters than for right-handed hitters. Trust me, no big league pitcher is easy to face.
Shuffles Dobbs' feet. The Phillies are on top of the Pirates 4-2. That's in the 8th. Steve Cishek in the Marlins pen. The pitcher spot is due up 4th. And that you would think would be a John Buck AB. One coming. Dobbs had a good pitch to hit. Low fastball. 1-2.
Greg Dobbs with a couple of home runs this year.
Big hit in this one, the Hayes grand slam. And Dillard misses away in a ballgame in which the Brewers ran out to a 5-0 lead. Gabby Sanchez made it 5-1, and then Dobbs with 2 outs launched one into the blue seats in left field down the line. Hayes is due up 3rd this inning. 2-2 to Greg Dobbs. Smacks it to right, hits it well, but right at heart.
Get a good pitch, have a good swing. He did. No problem, right to the right field.
Here's Bonifacio now. 0 for 3 in this one. Has walked and has a stolen base. Rockies and Giants just underway in San Francisco. A strike to Bonifacio. Cubs out to a 2-1 lead over the Cardinals. Cardinals have gotten on the board late, but that's in the 8th inning now. 2-1 Cubs in St. Louis. Oh, and 2. Just underway at Chase Field in Phoenix. Nationals and Diamondbacks are scoreless.
Pretty good matchup. Ian Kennedy and Jason Marquis.
Oh, 2. Chopper. And he even throws it submarine to first.
You and I were watching the same thing. And he did. He stayed down under for that throw to first.
It's probably his most accurate throw comes from down there.
He'd probably get all out of whack if he tried to come over the top on this. Perfect chest-high throw to Prince Fielder.
All right, here is Hayes. And John Buck is on deck. Misses away. It's 1-0. Last man standing on the Marlins bench. Grounded out to short. Wilson makes the play. The Marlins go down in order. 10 innings have passed, and it's still 5-5. Never came to the plate means the Marlins can try to milk another inning out of Mike Dunn. If you're just joining us, it's been a long day with a lot of things going on in this ball game. The Milwaukee Brewers jumped out to a 5-0 lead, helped by a 2-run home run by Ricky Weeks. Anibal Sanchez was not sharp in this one, but boy, has the bullpen been sharp. With Bert Badenhop, Edward Mujica, Leo Nunez, and Mike Dunn combining on 5 no-hit innings. Dunn pitched the 10th, and he gets the 11th. Jonathan Lucroy, Craig Counsell, and Josh Wilson scheduled.
This is one of the things you look at when you start getting into extra innings. We mentioned John Buck, the only available body for Edwin to come off the bench. Ron Renicky has Nieves, Gomez, Betancourt, and Casey McGee. So right now, because of the way the game's gone for the Brewers, he's a little stronger on his bench.
Yeah, he's used Mark Kotze, and that's it. And the fact that the Brewers jumped out to a lead, and Edwin Rodriguez had to start pinch hitting in the 6th inning. So Lucroy's up first. Dunn's fastball misses outside. Where the Marlins have lost 3 in a row, and they all have been 1-run games. And here they are, 5-5 in the 11th.
To give you an idea how the Marlins were playing in 1-run games, they're still 14-8 in 1-run games.
This is one of those games, though, where you have a lot invested. You come from behind to tie the game. You get the grand slam from Brett Hayes. You get a great run from your bullpen.
After a subpar outing from Anibal Sanchez, who's been so tough this year. Former Marlin Sergio Mitre getting loose.
Lucroy swings and misses. So Dunn has retired all 4 that he's faced, and here comes Craig Counsell.
Just got Lucroy with a good fastball, kept it away. Kept it up in that zone on most of the pitches out and away to Lucroy, and he swung through it.
An 0 for 4 day for Counsell after a pinch hit last night. And Dunn gets a generous corner there. It's 0-1. Slowly hit. Infante has been so good at second base. And there are 2 quick outs here in the 11th. We're with you tomorrow night, 6:30 for Marlins Live. Javier Vasquez will make the start. Zach Greinke will go for the Brewers. Greinke, a big piece of the offseason for Milwaukee, trying to piece together a rotation that I guess complements the power and the explosiveness of their offense.
Well, the bullpen now, Rich, has retired 12 straight. Last Brewer to reach was a walk issued by Mujica in the 7th inning.
The Marlins against the Braves are going to see Tommy Hanson, Derek Lowe, and Jair Jurgens.
3 pretty good right-handers there.
Jurgens might be the best in the National League right now, the way he's throwing.
Yeah, he actually lost last night, but still threw pretty well.
A 1.75 ERA. That one fouled out of play by Josh Wilson. That, of course, right now, guys that are pitching right now, Josh Johnson is still on the disabled list and still has yet to throw a bullpen. Continues to long toss. Clay Hensley, by the way, is the 1-2. Got word that his shoulder is merely sprained and that he should be able to return in 3 weeks.
That was good news for him, because I know he was a little concerned as to what other damage might be up in that shoulder.
Two balls, 2 strikes. Wilson getting the start at short today instead of Yudieski Betancourt. Hits a fly ball to left field, hits it pretty well. Morrison back to the wall. It is gone. Former Marlin Josh Wilson hits his 2nd homer of the season. And Milwaukee leads it 6-5.
Boy, they've gotten home runs from some unexpected sources. We saw a home run last night, 5th career home run for Niger Morgan, and now Josh Wilson just gets it out.
Casey McGee is a pinch hitter. Josh Wilson had a pinch hit home run on this road trip in Cincinnati, and now Axford is up and heating up for real. Oh, 0-2 on McGee. So the bullpen finally coughs up a run after 5 2/3 scoreless innings.
Josh Wilson's 9th career home run.
Coughlin going back, and Chris has room and makes the catch. So the Marlins are down a run now, and in comes John Axford. Marlin draft pick, a Marlin briefly. He's been in a lot of places since. This is his third organization this year. Has homered for the second time on this road trip. A pinch hit home to the Reds on Monday. And here he comes up with a big home run in the top of the 11th inning. That means for the third consecutive game, John Axford will try to shut the door with a one-run lead. One-run wins for the Brewers on Friday and last night, and Axford is in. He gets John Buck, Chris Coghlan, and Omar Infante, with Morrison, Gabby Sanchez, and Mike Stanton also possibilities.
The Marlins have seen a couple of John Axfords. The first game of this series, they saw one who didn't have as sharp a control. The Axford they saw last night, much better with the control. He gave up one base hit, but had a couple of strikeouts in his inning.
Here is Buck now, and he takes outside corner. Buck walked against Axford. That loaded the bases on Friday night. Axford ended up striking out Hayes to end the ball game. Big lollipop curveball for a strike. The Marlins were able to get base runners in both games against Axford. They loaded the bases on Friday night. They had a leadoff hit by Omar Infante last night.
Today, talking about Josh Wilson, he appeared in 11 games as a Marlin in 2005 and was 1 for 10.
He gave everybody a Duquesne baseball shirt.
Yeah.
One, two. Axford has gone 2-2 to Buck. You pointed it out last night, and we talked about it with Bonifacio. Buck has walked more this year than he did all of last year. 16 walks last year, 20 this year. 2-2 coming. Lays off the fastball, and the count's 3-2.
And remember, this all started 0-2.
Let's see what he gets now. 3-2 coming to John Buck. He missed, and Buck, of all people, draws a leadoff walk. A man that walked all of 16 times last year.
That's amazing that he's already surpassed that total. But a good AB. Remember, it started 0-2, and Axford tried a breaking ball and then missed with some fastballs and finally walked John Buck.
All right, when the Marlins were playing for a run in the ninth, remember, Wes Helms was at first. Coghlan laid down a bunt, but it wasn't a good bunt, and Helms was caught at second. You got a catcher running at first. Coghlan is swinging away, and he hits a fly ball to right field. Morgan calls for it.
Well, you try one time. I'm sure a lot of people saying, why wasn't he bunting? Well, he was bunting the last time. That didn't work. You try one time, you think you're going to get that fastball. Because it's a bunting situation, you give your hitter the green light one time. He may have been bunting if he fouls it off. And he got under it and hit the fly ball.
Now Infante, who is 2 for 5. Omar singled in the first, singled in the ninth.
And I think, Rich, a lot of that had to do with Buck being the runner.
Yes.
If Bonifacio's over at first, different story.
You know, it's if Buck were merely a position player and you had a faster pitcher, you could even pinch run for him, but he's your catcher and your second catcher, and depending on how the inning,
you have to keep him in there.
You got to keep him in the game, depending on how the inning evolves. Here's the 0-1 in the dirt. So 3 straight games for Axford, and remember, he'd been up a couple times in the pen, though really not throwing 100%, just getting loose and ready in case he was needed. 1-1. Liner in the left left center field. That's a base hit by the diving Josh Wilson. And Omar Infante has hit it on the button 3 times in this ball game. 3 hits for him. Logan Morrison now.
Another quality stroke by Omar. Just out of the reach of Wilson. And it gets interesting once again.
Boy, now's where you really would like to run for John Buck at second base. If you had the body. Morrison is 0 for his last 13. Hit by a pitch his last time up. Gabby Sanchez is on deck. See the struggles with runners in scoring position. Morrison faced Axford on Friday night, and remember, he had a 2-0 count, and he swung at a fastball that was up, and he skied out to right. On the corner, 0-1. John Buck, the runner, at second. Infante, the trail runner, at first. Axford misses low, and it's a ball and a strike. So in the 3 hitters he's faced here in the 11th, he walked Buck to lead off the inning. Coughlin hit the first pitch he saw into right field for an out, and Infante drilled one into center. 1-1. Up and in.
The good sign is that the Marlins are really making Axford work here in his 3rd appearance in this series.
Two-1 coming. Down low. Now it's 3-1.
It's that pitch prior. There's the last pitch. It's low.
You can see the first pitch, which was called the strike, was just off. The other one right on the border. So a 3-1 count coming. And Morrison went after the fastball and popped it up. Wilson calls for it and makes the catch. It's almost the exact same scenario of his Friday night at bat.
Right now he's just struggling. He will come out of it, but he's 0 for his last 14. Had a pitch to hit. You get a 3-1 fastball. It was up a little bit. So far, we've seen Lomo on that high fastball not get on top of it and hit that line drive. He gets underneath of it a little bit much and pops it up.
So it's up to Gabby Sanchez, who was 2 for 5 in the ball game with an RBI double. Sanchez 0 for 1 against Axford in this series. He bounced to third on Friday night.
Gabby up there in the 9th inning off Dillard with 1 out and the bases loaded, battled and hit that ground ball to third that Counsell came home with.
You don't have the best of speed with Buck at second. Infante's at first. 2 outs. Marlins down a run in the bottom of the 11th. Axford's breaking ball is a strike.
Decent arm in left from Braun. Nigel Morgan below average arm. Corey Hart has a strong arm in right.
Oh, 1 pitch. Gabby, a ground ball up the middle. Weeks has it, and the Brewers have won 3 consecutive 1-run games against the Marlins. And a losing streak for the Fish reaches 4. All of those have been one-run losses. Axford has saved all 3 games in this series. 6-5 the final. In 11, the Brewers beat the Marlins again.